Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they treat life like a freestyle performance. No script, no structure, just vibes, hope, and small prayers that things somehow fall into place. Planning feels boring until the lack of it becomes painful. You see it everywhere. A business idea that could have worked, but the owner jumped in with no numbers, no timeline, and no clear customer. A relationship that collapsed because nobody planned beyond the emotional high. Even nations stumble when leaders react instead of prepare. The pattern is predictable. When planning is absent, chaos doesn't just visit, it moves in permanently. And here is where many people get surprised. The first pages of the Bible open with the strongest lesson on planning ever recorded. Before humanity appears, before work begins, before laws or commandments are mentioned, there is a quiet but powerful principle at the center of creation. The story of God creating the world is not a random miracle sequence. It is the oldest example of deliberate planning, a step-by-step process, light before life, order before inhabitants, structure before activity. Nothing begins until the environment is ready. This is not theology, this is strategy. And it shows up right at the beginning of the story, long before we meet Adam or Eve. It tells us that planning is not something humans invented, it's something we were supposed to inherit. When you look closely at the story of creation, you see a model for building anything meaningful today. A business, a career, a family, a long-term dream. All of them depend on the same pattern. Identify the goal, prepare the environment, establish order, then act. And when this pattern is missing, the results are always the same. Wasted energy, delayed success. Constant repair work. A life built on reactions instead of direction. This episode is about that pattern, how the story of creation reveals a blueprint that still works today, and how you can borrow it to build something that actually lasts. If episode 1 showed us the value of work, episode 2 shows us how work becomes productive. Not through pressure or talent, but through planning. If you've ever tried to fix a problem by rushing straight into action, you already know how costly it can be. You spend hours working, yet somehow nothing moves. You add more effort, and the results still refuse to match the energy. It feels unfair, but it's not a mystery. It's a planning issue. The creation story shows this with surprising clarity. When you break it down, you don't see random miracles. You see stages. You see sequence. You see intention. The story of creation begins with one simple move. Light. That single action solved 2 problems at once. It separated day from night and made visibility possible. Before anything could grow, fly, swim, or walk, God handled the most basic requirement for progress. Clarity. Clarity always comes before productivity. Then you see something even more interesting. Before there were plants, there was land. Before there were birds, there was sky. Before there were fish, there was water. Before there were humans, there was a garden prepared for them. Everything that was created had a place waiting for it. This is where many people break down in modern life. They chase outcomes they haven't prepared space for. They want growth without structure. They want increase without systems. They want promotion without discipline. The story of creation teaches the opposite. The environment must be ready before the result can appear. It also shows that planning does not reduce power. It multiplies impact. Each day of creation flows smoothly into the next because nothing is out of order, no waste, no confusion, no emergency repairs, just purpose unfolding step by step. And here's the part people often miss. Planning is not a sign of doubt, it's a sign of seriousness. Many hide behind faith or motivation, but even faith works better when it stands on order. The early chapters of the Bible are not only telling us who made the world, they are showing us how things are built, with sequence, with reason, with structure, with vision that sees the end before the first step is taken. If you study your own life or anyone else's long enough, you'll notice something uncomfortable. Chaos rarely arrives as a surprise. It sends warnings, it gives hints, it shows cracks long before anything collapses. And most of the time, the root is simple. There was no plan, or the plan was ignored. You see this pattern throughout Scripture. People often get into trouble, not because they are weak, lazy, or unspiritual, but because they move without structure. Think of the story of the tower builders in Genesis. Their idea was bold. but their planning was flawed. They had ambition, but no alignment. Great goals without order will always scatter. That's exactly what happened. Look at the first family after Eden. Cain's anger wasn't his only issue. He brought an offering without thought, without care, without preparation. His brother brought something deliberate. Cain brought something convenient. The difference in planning created the difference in outcome. Even in the wilderness, the people who left Egypt with Moses watched resources disappear faster than they expected. Not because God failed them, but because they didn't manage what they had. They demanded more without organizing the little in their hands. That is what chaos looks like when planning is missing. Small problems multiply. Pressure rises. People make emotional choices because they never made intentional ones. Opportunities slip by because no structure is ready to receive them. But the clearest example is still creation. Imagine if the plants had appeared before light existed. Imagine if animals arrived before land and water were defined. Imagine humans standing in a world without boundaries, seasons, or rhythms. It would have been confusion from day one. Order protects purpose. Planning protects progress. Many people struggle, not because they lack talent, but because they live in a world they never took time to shape. They walk into each day hoping clarity appears on its own. Meanwhile, the creation story shows that clarity must be created. Once you understand the rhythm of creation, something becomes obvious. Planning is not an event, it is a sequence, a pattern, a way of thinking. And when you take that pattern and apply it to your work or business, things stop feeling random. You begin to build with intention instead of reaction. Here is how the creation flow translates into a modern planning framework. First comes light. In real life, that is clarity. Before you write a to-do list or chase any opportunity, you need to answer the most basic question. What exactly are you trying to build? Not the vague version, the defined version. Light removes guesswork. Then God separates. He draws boundaries between day and night, waters and land. That is structure. Once you gain clarity, you need to organize it. Break the big idea into parts. Assign space, time, and priority. Anything without structure quickly becomes noise. After structure comes environment. In creation, the land appears before the plants. In life, this means preparing the conditions that support the result you want. If you want to learn a skill, create time for it. If you want to grow a business, create systems that can carry growth. Results cannot survive where the environment is not ready. Then comes productivity. Plants appear. Animals fill the earth. The world begins to operate on its own cycles. This is where your actions finally match your intentions. Work becomes meaningful because it has a place to land. And only after all this does God create humanity. The final piece arrives when everything needed is already in place. Many people reverse this. They try to be the finished version of themselves before they prepare the ground. That is why they feel pressure instead of progress. This flow gives you a simple reality check. If you feel confused, you need light. If you feel overwhelmed, you need structure. If you feel stuck, you need environment. If you feel busy but unproductive, you need alignment between your actions and your plan. You don't have to copy this sequence perfectly. You just need to respect the logic behind it. Build foundations before expectations. Shape your world before you try to fill it. A plan only becomes real when it reaches your calendar. You can understand the creation sequence, admire it, and even talk about it, but nothing changes until you start using it. The good news is that you don't need complicated tools. You don't need expensive software. You only need one weekly rhythm that mirrors what we saw in Genesis. Start with light. Choose one moment each week to clear your mind. No goals yet, no pressure, just clarity. Ask yourself a straight question. What matters this week? Not everything you could do, but what truly deserves attention right now. This step alone removes half the stress most people carry. Then build structure. Take the things that matter and arrange them. Put them into categories: work, family, learning, business, health. Planning becomes easier once everything has its proper place. When you separate your responsibilities, you stop feeling like they are fighting each other. Next, shape the environment. Look at the tasks you listed and prepare the conditions for them to succeed. If you need to work early, set your space the night before. If you want to save money, remove the triggers that push you to spend. If you want to study a new skill, block the time on your calendar instead of hoping you will find it. The environment is where most people fail because they leave it to chance. After that comes productivity. Now you execute. Not in a rushed or chaotic way, but in a focused rhythm. You are not waking up guessing what the day wants from you. You already decided. This is where results start to compound, not because you worked harder, but because you worked with direction. Finally, review. The creation account ends with God resting, not out of exhaustion but satisfaction. Your version of rest is reflection. Ask yourself what worked, what didn't, and what needs adjusting. This is how you grow without burning out. Reflection turns experience into wisdom. When you repeat this weekly pattern, your life slowly begins to take shape. Decisions feel lighter. Work feels purposeful. Opportunities become clearer. You stop reacting and start building. And the best part is that it doesn't fight your faith. It strengthens it. Planning aligns your steps with your intention, just as creation aligned purpose with process. A simple truth at the heart of everything we build: nothing thrives without order. Planning doesn't cage your future. It clears the ground so your future has room to stand.